Hi friends! Can I be real with you? Yeah? Because I'm gonna be. Out of Darkness is the directorial debut of Andrew Cumming, and the trailer caught my attention because I like horror, especially when it's set in an unexpected location and time, like Kingdom on Netflix or 2022's movie Prey. I was 100% in love with the idea of a Stone Age era horror/drama flick. And focusing on the horror, as I like to do, the real horror of this movie is 1. Men, surprise, surprise, and 2. Starting your period 45,000 years ago. Hey there, movie lovers. Welcome back. It's your movie buddy here, ready to talk about the latest movie I watched. Whether you're a longtime subscriber or follower or a new face, I'm thrilled to have you here. You can expect spoiler-free reviews and my honest thoughts about the latest film I watched in theaters or maybe one I streamed at home. You can catch weekly releases dropping every Friday. Have a movie in mind you want me to talk about? Hop into my DMs on Instagram, drop a comment on YouTube, or let me know on the podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, follow on Spotify, and follow along on Instagram so you don't miss out on what I'm up to and what's coming up next. So grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button and the follow button, and let's get into today's episode on Out of Darkness. 45,000 years ago, a small boat reaches the shore of an inhospitable landscape. 6 people have struggled across the narrow sea in hopes of finding a new home. When night falls, hope turns to terror as they realize they are not alone. As relationships in the group begin to fracture, a determined young woman confronts the terrible actions needed to survive this horrifying and mysterious new enemy. So if you haven't noticed yet, I reworked my script for this episode and episodes moving forward. So things are basically the same, but they're a little bit different, hopefully in a good way. So we're going to talk about the usual things I liked, my thoughts on the movie overall, my honest opinions, and some reviews I saw online. The themes explored in Out of Darkness are things I think a lot of people can relate to, and they speak a lot to the universal human experience. The movie tackles survival, loss, hope, and the fear of death. The movie effectively gets these points across, but tell me why, by the end of the movie, I felt like I was wrong. I was wrong for thinking and feeling the way I felt with how things went down. I don't want to spoil the movie, but if you saw the movie already, then you know what I mean. Hopefully. I will come back to this later on in the episode. The character development in the movie is interesting, especially because we're taught the structure of the group and the significance as it shifts. I do think the pacing is a little fast in regard to exploring the development, but it's there, and it really gives you a lot to think about. Visually, Out of Darkness is actually stunning. I was really surprised because while the trailer does have some really great shots, it wasn't enough before the trailer jumped into that tension and horror to prepare you for how rich the film is with really amazing cinematography. I love the wide, very wide shots, the overhead angles, the inverted shots, and the moments in complete darkness. You could feel their desperation to find food when we as an audience can see on screen that there is nothing. You can really feel the tone, the chaos, and the unsettling moments, as well as these characters' desperation being intensified as everything on screen just grows darker around them. These visual elements really immerse the audience in the character's struggle, making everything they go through plain on screen. The acting is great, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about how impressive the entire cast is for delivering stellar performances while speaking a made-up language. This movie is subtitled in English and spoken in Tola. I'm sure I lost some people there, and I get it. Subtitles aren't for everyone, and I'll circle back and talk about that a little later in the episode. For now, I want to talk about the language. In an interview with Variety, the director said that Out of Darkness is spoken in Tola, which stands for the origin of language. It's a loose mixture of Arabic and Basque invented by the multilinguist academic Daniel Anderson, who, according to the director, came back with a language after 4 weeks. I do appreciate the director saying that he almost shot the film in English to avoid alienating the audience, but he wanted to commit to the world they were trying to create. At one point, he says that essentially you want to get to the point where you look into the actor's eyes and you believe it. I honestly feel like they accomplished that because had I not known going into the theater that this was a made-up language, I would have assumed that it was a real language. Going back to the performances, the actors truly sell the language in every single scene. I especially like Sophia Oakley-Green and Kit Young as Bea and Gear respectively. Wrapping up this section, I want to say that I do think this movie's pacing is fine for the most part, but overall, I think the movie could have benefited, the characters could have benefited from more time. I want to say that as an audience, we could have as well, but based on what the director said, the hope is to take a step back and look at the movie as a whole and the ideas it raises. I personally know I could have benefited from. We'll dig into that a little bit more, but for now, let's wrap up with my final thoughts on the movie. After going over the story, the ideas, the look, and the acting, the real question is the movie worth your time? Is this a good movie? Let's lay it all out on the table. I think this is very much a movie that is good or bad, depending on who's watching. I liked the movie. I appreciate what it did. The acting is fantastic. The movie looks gorgeous. The practical effects, especially that gore, when we get it, you already know. I love it. Out of Darkness just didn't give me what I wanted based on what I expected having seen the trailer. I also want to say the narrative left me questioning my initial interpretation of what was happening. And I think if you feel the same, it can be something that can make this a bad movie. Like I said, I felt like I was made to feel wrong. Obviously, that's not a great feeling, but taking a step back and seeing the whole picture, yeah, I get it. It's just not the picture I thought I would be seeing. In addition to that, again, the movie is subtitled, and I know that isn't for everyone. If you watched my Godzilla -1 episode, I honestly encouraged everyone to see it, even if you don't like subtitles, because the movie is that good. I still stand by that, but for this movie, yeah, no, if you don't like subtitles, don't bother with this one, unless you really don't mind the idea that death and fear are a universal human experience. Without spoilers, emphasis on human. In this section of the video, I do try to find negative reviews online to get other people's thoughts and opinions, but they're pretty short and don't go far beyond complaining about the movie being boring and the subtitles. I will say if that's you, then definitely skip this movie. Have you had the chance to watch Out of Darkness yet? If you haven't watched it, what's holding you back? Not your cup of tea, not your genre, not a fan of subtitles? I'm curious to hear your thoughts after today's episode. And if you've already watched the movie, I want to know your take. What did you think about this movie? Share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions. I am all ears. At the end of the day, I don't hate this movie. It did what it did well. I love the setting. I love the time that it takes place. It really strips everything down to the bones and makes for a unique survival thriller movie. I really think there's appeal here. In my case, there is appeal for the type of story I thought we were getting. And if you caught at least the last 2 episodes, then you know what I like and what the appeal is for me. Like I said, I don't hate this movie. I just hate that 2/3 of this movie was the movie I thought it was. Then I got the rug pulled out from under me, and that literally made the appeal vanish and the movie became uninteresting. I do think if you're not as interested in, let's just say, what appeals to me, then I think this is worth watching. I think if you don't mind taking a step back and seeing the whole picture and understanding the universal human experience, especially the way it plays out, then it's worth watching. It was just missing that thing that I expected. And honestly, based on some reviews I saw, other people expected it too. And to that point, would the movie have been better if it had that element? Personally, I think so. All right, movie fans, that wraps up another episode. If you're enjoying this episode on the podcast, a huge thank you for tuning in. For our YouTube viewers, you'll find a link to the podcast in the description below. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. As always, thanks a million for joining me today, friends. Your support means the world. And remember, the movie talk doesn't stop, so tune in every Friday for fresh episodes. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube, follow on Spotify for on-the-go listening, and join the fun over on Instagram for behind-the-scenes sneak peeks and more movie shenanigans or just regular shenanigans. If you caught the last 2 episodes I posted, then you know that I had tickets for Demon Slayer, and I 100% planned to not make a whole episode for it. But we're still going to talk about it a little bit. My honey and I had fun. Well, I can only speak for myself. I had fun, but I think he enjoyed himself too. I will say though that the theater was a lot emptier than the last time we went last year, and honestly, it totally makes sense. It was only 2 episodes, the finale of the last season, which my honey and I have already watched, and then the first episode of the new season that comes out in spring. I was gonna say something about the cost of the tickets versus what you get, but when I looked back at my Cinemark account, I used movie credits and I only paid $6.50 for both tickets, but it would have been around $30 total. I don't know, that's pretty steep, but I think if you haven't seen the season finale, it would be cool to see it in the cinema. I think last year I mentioned that it was cool because you're around people that love the anime too, and that energy is awesome. I love seeing people dress up, and personally, I love wearing my Tanjiro cardigan, but like I said, the theater was empty, maybe like 20 people. The vibes were not 100, but it was still fun. I would say 10 out of 10, the anime is fantastic in my opinion. And the picture quality, the volume in that first episode of the new season, I think it was worth the 7 doll hairs. And I'm starting to rant, so let's move along. Dune Part 2. You guys, I watched Dune when it came out, and I feel like there's a lot that I don't remember, so I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch. But you know what I do know? We're getting Florence Pugh. Also, if you know, you know, and if you don't, I like monsters, creatures, and all of that, so I'm ready to see more sandworms. Also, more Zendaya, because I feel like in the last movie we all got, she was definitely not in it as much as I think we all thought she was going to be. At the time this episode drops, I will be seeing Dune Part 2, and I've been hearing so many good things about it, so I am very, very excited. Finally, the last movie I have tickets for is Kung Fu Panda 4. I honestly cannot wait to rewatch all the Kung Fu Panda movies and talk to you guys about the 4th installment, and honestly all the movies in general, because it is one of my favorite animated franchises. For updates, I've been looking forward to Imaginary for the last few months, and thank goodness I held off on the tickets. Last week I said PG-13 ratings make me nervous, and I'm not saying there isn't a place for PG-13 horror, I just feel like it's gonna be really bad or really good. My point is, the PG-13 rating is why I didn't jump on the tickets in the first place, and that's a good thing, because it's my uncle's birthday that weekend, so I don't know if I'm gonna have time to watch a second movie. So that episode is probably gonna get pushed out, which works anyway because I don't have tickets for anything else after Kung Fu Panda 4. I'm thinking out loud here, but after that would be Ghostbusters. I do want to do a podcast exclusive on the movie Stop Motion that came out recently, which I should be able to at the beginning of April. If you're wondering, no, I did not forget about Godzilla and Kong. That episode will also get pushed out because annual family vacation, and I need that vacation. We all need a vacation. I am so tired. Anyway, last week I shared my thoughts on Madam Web and Argyle. If you missed out on those episodes, please be sure to catch them on the podcast or on YouTube. Your feedback on those reviews would be awesome as well. As always, I am looking forward to you all joining me on YouTube, Instagram, and of course the podcast. Don't forget to tune in on Spotify for those exclusive episodes. Your presence and engagement truly make a difference, and it means so much to me. I value your feedback. It enriches our little community and makes it a fun place to be. Share your thoughts in the YouTube comments or hop over to Spotify for our Q&A and polls. Whether you're following on YouTube, Spotify, or Instagram at A.Rocket.Review, I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Until next time, spread positivity, be safe, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.